Welcome everyone. My name is Emily DeChico and I'm a senior in Biology and Society.
Hi, my name's Nicole Sember. I'm a senior in Fiber Science and Apparel Design.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I'm a senior in Human Development.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Wong and I'm a junior in Policy Analysis and Management.
Hi, my name is James Onley. I'm a senior in Human Development.
Hi, my name is Macrina Wilkins and I'm a junior in Human Development.
We are all students in HE 4950 Reflective Leadership Studio. Today we're interviewing Dean Mathios as part of our continuing project to interview human ecology leaders. Today, our panel of students will each ask Dean Mathios a question, and then we will welcome any additional questions from the audience. Dean Alan Mathios is the Rebecca Q. and James C. Morgan Dean of Cornell University's College of Human Ecology and a commissioner for the Middle States Commission on Higher Education. He is a professor in the Department of Policy Analysis and Management and has served as associate chair and director of undergraduate studies for the department. A major focus of his research is on the effect of Food and Drug Administration regulatory policies on consumer and firm behavior. His most recent research is on an examination of the effectiveness of warning labels on cigarette packages. He has been the recipient of a number of teaching and advising awards. Professor Mathios came to Cornell following 6 years of employment at the Federal Trade Commission. So, Dean Mathios, what does a day in the life of a Dean of Human Ecology look like?
Well, no 2 days are the same. But it's an amazing experience being the dean because of the fact that no 2 days are the same. But you experience the full scope of the mission of a college. And so I'll spend a day talking to a prospective high school student who dreams of coming to Cornell and what Cornell can do for them. I spend a good part of my typical day administering the college, setting its direction, and working with the faculty and the students of the college and the staff of the college. And then what's truly the most thrilling part, frankly, is meeting the alumni of the college and seeing what comes from this education. And so you see the diversity of the careers that you will have as students, I sort of know your future because I see the future through the alumni. And seeing that full cycle of what an educational institution does and how it influences people's lives is very compelling. So some days I spend all my time with the alumni, some days it's mostly with students, some days with staff, some days with faculty. So it's all a combination of that. And I will say at Cornell, what I love about doing this at Cornell is the deans as a group work very closely with the central administration, the provost, the president, and so we really have a stake in the university as leaders. And so deans often have two hats to wear. They have their hat of representing their college and what's in the best interest of the college, but also what's the best interest of Cornell University more broadly. And I'd say 90% of the time those overlap, but sometimes they don't overlap, and understanding and being a good university citizen is something that I think all my dean colleagues are really good at. We're great. I really respect them and work together very well with them. And there's something very exciting about both leading a college and being empowered to help lead the university.
Thank you. Kind of going off of what you were saying before, a lot of the colleges fall under the umbrella of Cornell University, but how would you define human ecology?
So I've spent a lot of time working with the faculty, the students, the staff, the alumni, trying to succinctly describe the college. And we came up with a mission statement that I think is a wonderful mission statement. It's 14 words. And the mission, at least as it's on my wall in my office, is improving lives by exploring and shaping human connections to natural, social, and built environments. And when you think about the scope of that and what that means, it's very, very compelling to me. So when I walk into my office each day, and it sounds a little cliche-ish, but the first thing I look at is the mission statement wall. And I see the first two words of the mission statement, improving lives, and it motivates me. It really makes it special that this college is so focused on the reason we want to acquire knowledge is to apply it and to improve the human condition and improve people's lives. So that's the mission. And then sort of there's a next layer of, so it's so broad, that mission statement, so how do we bring it down some? And so we came up with 8 broad themes that describe, in some sense, what we mean by human connections to natural, social, and built environments. So we have, and if you walk around the college, the outside, the pathways, in between the building, you'll see the theme flags that talk about the themes of the college. So I don't know if I'll get them all the 8 ones right off the top of my head, but sustainability, fashion and technology, design and health, public health and nutrition, economics and policy, community and family policy, human neuroscience, all of those types of things taken together. Oh, and lifespan development. I think that's 8. All of those taken together help define those human connections to natural, social, and built environments. So what I love about the mission and its definition and how we've articulated is that it's widespread, it crosses departments, it's very multidisciplinary. The challenge is that it's difficult to guess the exact departments that would make up the College of Human Ecology. So we have a special communications, I would say, challenge and opportunity to use the words human ecology in a way that communicates the strength that we are, and have it be embracing to all the units in the college. Other colleges, their names are a little bit more conveying directly the departments that make them up. And so we have that challenge, but it's an opportunity because it doesn't mean that we're defined only by our departments. We're defined by something more synergistic than just 5 departments taken together. We're something deeper than that, and that we work together to create those synergies across departments.
Okay, great. Thank you for your response. So as a dean, you mentioned that you interact with alumni a lot. So our next question is, what do you like best about working with alumni?
So I mentioned it in my previous comments a little bit. It's to really see the results of the education system that we have here, and to see the diversity of careers. And what you quickly learn is the nonlinearity of what happens after you graduate. So first jobs are not second jobs, are not third jobs. They move around, and what you constantly learn is that you still see what our admissions people saw in you as students, that outward focus on helping others, that no matter what profession people go into, they do it slightly differently because they're human ecology. And it's truly wonderful to see that. So even no matter what the career, I see it all the time, that they have that special outward focus about why they're doing that work and how it's been shaped by their experience in the college. That's truly joyous, and what it does for me is it gives me great motivation to come to work each day, because I see what this is going to do for you as students, that I'll be talking to you, or some future dean will be talking to you, and you'll be remembering that this class, that particular experience, working in the research lab with that faculty member has really made a difference for how your life evolves from here. And so seeing that is very rewarding. It makes me realize the importance of the work I do on the campus and the faculty do on the campus every day, because I see it in the future being meaningful. So I know that sometimes in a dean's job, you spend time on administrative details that are not the most fun parts of the job, but knowing that there's a strong purpose in that, and that it's working with students and seeing what's going to happen to them, because again, I know your future. Because I see it in all the alums. That's the fun part. And also that they're enthused about it to help support in both time and treasure. So we have an amazing set of alums, and they give their time, they volunteer to be on advisory boards, on advisory council, on alumni boards, on interviewing students or working with students through the CAN network. And that's really incredible. And then they're also willing to give significant resources. And what I use those resources for is to help the current students, the current faculty, be as good as they can be.
Thank you for sharing that. It's great to hear that we have such good relations with our alumni. I guess just to throw a fun question in there, what was your favorite place to travel and why?
Okay, so I have had 2 amazing trips recently, and both of them are related to ancestry. So my wife, Mary, started going on to Ancestry.com and doing significant amount of time investment in tracing our family history. And on her side, there's very strong Irish ancestry going way, way back. So we had the opportunity to go to Ireland, and through Ancestry.com, she was finding some family names, and one of the leaves on the family tree was blinking. And it turns out she connected with someone who is in Ireland, lives there now. And they connected, and they said, we're coming to Ireland. And I had my whole family, 2 girls were with me, as well as my wife. And we get to Ireland, and they set up a luncheon for us with probably 30, 40 people of our relatives that we had never met before. And it was just an amazing experience. I felt like I knew these people my whole life. And that was very powerful. And to show you what a small world it is, one of the people works in a band, a very well-known Irish folk band, and he happens to do a U.S. route, and he has this weird group of fans, he said, in this place called Ithaca, New York, and he plays at the Carriage House Cafe. So we now every year host the Brock McGuire Band at our house when they come here, because the last 2 years they played at the Carriage House Cafe. So I went to Ireland to find out that they played at the And then my second trip was related to my side of the family. So I have Greek heritage, and I had the amazing opportunity just this last summer to be in Greece, and in very northern Greece, my grandfather came in 1912 to the United States. He was like 16 years old, to escape the Balkan Wars at the time. And he was bar mitzvahed in this synagogue in Ioannina, Greece, which is right at the Albanian border. It's in Greece, but right near the Albanian border. And we found the one person in Ioannina that had the key to the synagogue. So, and tracking them down was like The Amazing Race, if you ever watched that show.
Yeah.
We found the person, we got the key, and I opened this up, and to be in the building where my grandfather was bar mitzvahed, and just, it was very emotional, very, very cool to see that. So the 2 most meaningful trips, both with my full family too, my 2 girls and my wife, we did it together, and it was really, really powerful.
Thank you for that. So as a class of leadership development, we were just wondering as to what type of student leaders stand out to you and why.
It's a great question. Leadership comes in many, many forms, and so some of I'll give you 2 experiences that I've had with students, and they're examples, so they're not the particular student, but the qualities that they had. And one was a human ecology student who decided that she wanted to build a classroom for disabled children in Central America. And she organized an amazing team of engineers and students in the SEPA program and design students and from all over campus. And this was her mission. She took a year leave from her studies to do this. She's being very successful. She's graduated since. She is still working on this project. And so seeing a social purpose and garnering the resources to make it happen. And what's really interesting is she is quite humble about it, I believe, and doesn't seek the limelight very much about it. She just seeks the limelight only to get resources to make it happen. So that's one where seeing a social need and being really strong at organizing the whole campus community, actually, all different areas of Cornell, to come together around that. She worked with Cornell University Sustainable Design, that CUSD is another big group of students, and so she really mobilized resources to achieve the goal. The other type of leaders I see comes from being on the selection committee. I serve on the selection committee for the Rhodes, the Marshall, and the Truman Awards. And there, what I see is leadership that's built experience by experience, having smaller, what I would say, smaller impacts than building a school in Haiti, but doing so in a very consistent way around, again, a passion, but building up through summer experiences, through volunteer experiences, a cohesive view of, and helping them think about how they want to shape the world and developing the credentials that they could accomplish that. So I see it in very different ways, those two experiences. And what's amazing is all colleges I've seen it in, especially the Truman Award, which really focuses on public service. What students do and how they do it, and having to reflect, and in the Truman Act, because you really have to reflect on that. What I see is this, the ones that stand out to me when I've been on the selection committee probably for 10 years now, are ones where everything coalesces. Their course, so their volunteer experiences are backed up by actual knowledge and content, so their curriculum that they're taking, they stretch it. And so if they're interested in international relations and they're a human ecology student, they spend a lot of their time not in human ecology, on international relation courses somewhere else. Other students who really, like for example, are into microfinance and trying to make a movement in that, have taken courses on entrepreneurship and in finance to support that, but keep their human ecology social mission very alive. So those are some of the examples I would give to give you a sense of what I see. Some are very behind the scenes, some are very out there.
And with another reflective
Yeah.
question, what would you say is your most memorable Cornell experience or tradition?
So the tradition I like the most is, and value the most is commencement, May commencement. December commencement's really nice too. It's much more, if any of you are graduating in December, it's a really nice ceremony, but I strongly encourage everyone, whether they graduate in December or not, to go to the May commencement. I have, on the athletic abilities scale, I'm probably a 2 out of 10, okay? And so I didn't participate a lot in team sports. I never performed in front of people. So I never quite got that excitement that athletes must feel when they walk into a packed stadium and what that energy means. So when at commencement, Sholkoff Hall is packed, it's just totally packed. And when you get announced as dean and walk in representing the class and see the masses, there's something incredible about that. And there's something also very special that the ceremony is very, you know exactly what's going to happen. It's the same every year, not the speech, but the process, the marching in, the alma mater, the evening song. And there's something very reassuring about pomp and circumstance and the constancy of the event and its structure. And so it's very, very cool. I have to fight back during the evening song. I always have to fight back tears as I'm sitting on that stage. And I have my one line that I know. So as a dean, you have one line. This we have to change. It used to be Mr. President. So now I said we had a great debate. What do we now say? Is it this president? So we're going President Garrett. I have the honor, and I will be saying this to the seniors, I have the honor to present these candidates who have fulfilled the requirements, and da-da-da-da-da, it's a short little statement, and grant the degree of Bachelor of Science. And it's a wonderful, I have a card if I freak out and forget it, but I have the courage now to not read and say the statement. And there's something just wonderful about it. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. The students from the vet school will have their gloves. They have their surgery gloves on, and they're all waving the surgery glove. When the MBAs are announced, they're very aggressive and very loud. And so knowing all that's going to happen and just watching it happen is very, very cool. Maybe my most memorable one was my first one. So I wasn't dean, I was just a faculty member. And it was like 30, it was 1992. And Frank Rhodes, who was an incredible orator, he was a president that was so articulate and so wonderful. And he gave the speech, but it was about 35 degrees, raining, not quite snowing, and people were miserable because of how cold. Everybody was almost frostbitten in the audience. So I had my robe on at least. It was very memorable because I'm like, why am I even here? Why do people come to this thing? And then Frank Rhodes opens his mouth. And I'm like, wow, this is why it's really special. So it's one of my very, very vivid memories.
So now that you've given us all goosebumps about our future, we're curious to know what lies in your future.
So I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I know your future, I don't know my future. So it's a very interesting challenge. So, and I think this is a good thing. Cornell has a unwritten rule, but it's a rule, that deans serve 2 terms. So I am now in year 9 of my deanship, but 1 year was interim, so technically I'm in my 8th year of my formal term, 2nd term, my 3rd year of my 2nd term. And so I do have to start thinking about what's next, because I know that this amazing job is going to end. And so part of me would love to go back to the faculty. I miss teaching dearly, I really do. I have a drawer full of letters that students have written, and I used to get tons of them, and now not so many, because the relationship you have with students as dean is very different. So I really love teaching, and I'd be thrilled to go back to teaching. On the other hand, when you get close to the end of your deanship, you get relentlessly recruited by other institutions to do provost positions and and president positions potentially in other places. So you sort of go back to the faculty, or you move up the academic food chain at some level. I don't know where my heart lies. And if you want to become, I probably would have a preference if I left Cornell and didn't go back to the department, probably a preference for presidency because it's more like a deanship than a provost position. But I don't know where my heart lies. And then the problem with living in Ithaca is a great place to live, and if you can't change jobs very easily without moving, and I feel very dedicated to this community. So it's a very complex question.
Yeah.
And I serve on the chair of the board of the Community Foundation of Tompkins County, so I'm very immersed in the public service side of Tompkins County and really love that work as well. So my future may be teaching. For if there are any freshmen or sophomores in the room, maybe I'll be teaching you back when I go back to PAM, or who knows.
Well, we love having you in Ithaca, but we know you'll choose what's right for you. So at this point, we'd love to hear from the audience. If anyone has any questions. Yep, if you want to just come right up.
Firstly, thank you so much for joining us for the interview today. My name is Hyunji Lee. I'm a senior in fiber science and apparel design, and I'm also part of the leadership class. So my question is, what is your favorite thing to do outside of your work?
Hiking. I love to hike. That's easy. That's an easy question. So my body may not be able to allow me to do this when I get the chance to do it, but I really do want to be a through hiker on the Appalachian Trail. So I've done a good chunk of it over time in parts. So I've done almost the entire Northeast. I'll do a weekend hike, I'll do 2 days and cover 30 miles or something on the trail. But there's something I would love to do about the through hike stuff. So we'll see if I ever get there and whether I stay in shape well enough to do that. So and there's little local hikes that I do. There's one, if you get a chance, anyone, it's called Abbott's Loop. So it's in Danby, and it's part of the Finger Lakes Trail for a while, but then it becomes a separate trail. It's about an 8-mile round trip hike without having to redo steps because it's a loop. So I do that actually quite often. Try to do it once. I used to do it like once every 2 weeks. Now time sometimes gets in the way of that. But I do that, and when my girls were young, we do it together, and that was a lot of fun. The parks here are wonderful, the Treatment, Buttermilk, et cetera, et cetera. So I love to hike.
I should try it someday.
Yes, my name is Chelsea Park, and I'm a junior also in the Policy Management Department. And I wanted to ask, since you served, I also take part in the Reflective Leadership Studio at this semester, and I wanted to ask, since you worked in the Federal Trade Commission prior to serving as a dean, how has your leadership style changed from an academic and professional roles?
Interesting. So at the Federal Trade Commission, I was a staff economist and actually refused. They asked me to do a management position there, and I chose not to do a management position there because I loved what I was doing at the FTC. I will say there's a strong connection, however. So when I was getting my PhD, I received my PhD and I was being recruited largely by academic institutions and very prestigious ones. And I decided that the institutions that I was being recruited at had very strong economics departments, and my PhD's in economics, and I was losing a little faith that economics as a profession was becoming too theoretical and too divorced from the real world, and that the ivory tower side of economics wasn't what I was excited about. So I took the Federal Trade Commission job because of its application and being applied. And really, in some sense, when I read the mission statement and think about the mission statement of the college, it really, the Federal Trade Commission was trying to improve people's lives through its mission. And so I really love that. And to this day, my research agenda is totally linked with the work that I started back then. And what's really wonderful about that is it's influenced, and this is leadership in a different way. Through what I accomplished at the Federal Trade Commission, I have a new grant, and so this is 20 years later, but I'm working with Sahara Byrne in the communications department. I don't know if anyone's taken her class. She's an awesome professor in the communications department. And Jeff Netterdeppy in the communications department, and Rosemary Avery, and someone from the law school, Michael Dorff. And we have this major project to look at warning labels on cigarette packages and how the Food and Drug Administration should regulate those labels. And that all comes back from my work that I did at the Federal Trade Commission on labeling and its impact and how you think about labeling. And that was for food products, but the same basic analysis really plays out. So it's wonderful now that I have junior faculty or more junior to me leading the charge here, but I believe that I greatly influenced the agenda for them and took, in some sense, what my talent is more now. You sort of fall a little bit behind on the latest and greatest technical side of your profession if you're in administration, but the big think stuff really stays with you, and so applying that big think work to really top faculty who have those technical skills to move ahead is what makes for great collaboration. So this project is really, I would say, probably, I can never say for sure, probably wouldn't have been successful if I had not been at the FTC at some point, because I played a key role, not the only role, but a key role in the whole development of the idea.
Thank you. That was very relevant to students seeking currently starting to start to think about the mission.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have time for one more?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rana Navigi. I'm a student at the Masters of Professional Studies in International Development. I'm also part of this class. You talked a little bit about your research, but I'd like to know, like, if you had the options to research anything in your field, what would you research at the moment?
Oh boy. So I do think that sort of the regulation, I continually believe that how government regulates the information we receive as consumers is so fundamental to our decision making and to health and to good outcomes. So I believe that this confluence of how we regulate pharmaceutical information we have about pharmaceutical products, tobacco, foods, all of this links to our to health, our fundamental causes of death in the United States, our behavioral decisions about health. So that's the broadest level. I think one of the more fascinating developments that, if I had more time, I'd work with my colleagues on more, is this whole development of e-cigarettes and vaping, and what are the implications of that? Because this is happening so rapidly, the government really, frankly, has no clue as to how to best regulate the evolution of vaping and e-cigarettes. On the one hand, if people move from smoking cigarettes to e-cigarettes, I have no doubt that there's a health benefit to doing that, and that's risk reduction. On the other hand, there's fear that people would not even think about entering the cigarette market, would now enter vaping and then eventually potentially transition into cigarette smoke, or just stay with vaping, and the health consequences of that are very unclear. In some sense, it's mostly just nicotine, and nicotine itself, most of the harm of cigarettes is the burning of the tobacco, not that it has nicotine. If the nicotine's there to get you to want to burn the tobacco. So, what's the role of having people more users of nicotine delivery? And that's, to me, a fascinating question. There's so many important possibilities that we can regulate it in very different ways, and how we regulate it can make huge differences in people quitting, starting, onset. And given the rate at which people are starting to adopt it, it's something very dynamic that I think is going to be around for the next 20 years, and we're just starting to understand all the consequences. So I would say e-cigarettes, vaping, information, warnings, all about that, how we manage that as a society.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you, Dean Mathios. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And a special thanks to our professor, Dr. Morin. At this point, everyone can help themselves to some refreshments, and we'll have the dean around for a little bit longer. So, thank you.
Great.